And we are live at 5 o'clock Eastern Time in New York City. You are hearing the voice of Patricia Angelin. And you are very, very welcome to all the feels on this Wednesday in October. What you see in front of you while you're hearing my voice are some beautiful snapdragons from Holly's Roses on the ground floor of the Alba Technique Studio building on the Flower Block in Chelsea, Manhattan, USA. And along with the beautiful candles and the great books and a little Moroccan carpet of silk, you can also see that I have framed a calligraphic quote from the great German poet, prose stylist, and philosopher Goethe. And it reads, "One ought at least to hear a little melody every day, read a fine poem, see a good picture, and, if possible, make a few sensible remarks." I have given that little quote to my brother when he finished college because I think it's something that we all forget, just as a general concept, that it is a good thing for us to be exposing ourselves to art, to great art particularly. Not all art is created equal. It needs to be art that stands the test of time, as well as modern art, of course, because we need to be informed how artists in various media are looking at our own very chaotic, troubled times. But it isn't good for human persons, I think, very strongly, to be limiting ourselves to intellectual exploration into only our own contemporary era and expanding contemporary as to anybody who might be alive now. So that would be, we're in, what year are we in? 2021. So anybody born within the past 100 years, that'd be 1921 until now. It's quite an expanse, and yet, in a way, such a narrow space of time. So Goethe's admonition to us all, we really want to kind of expand our intellectual portfolio. It feeds our feelings, it feeds our senses. It makes us able to be, along with the vicissitudes of life, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, it enables us to become more noble in ourselves, more whole in ourselves, more able to handle the feelings that come up in our lives and in the craziness, particularly of this current time. So I've been trying to take this a little more seriously because, of course, all of us, we remember these things. We think, yeah, that's a really good thing to do. So we get out a book of poetry, whoever our favorite poet might be from when we started reading, being forced to read poetry in high school or whatever, and we reread something, and we're like, yeah, I'm good. But it's also good to become aware of those who are, who have been writing, contemporarily to us. And so I, moving along with this theme, decided that I am going to go and join a poetry meeting with a poet of whom I had never heard. Now, I did email this one poem to myself, so hopefully I'm used to getting these things on my phone, but I should be able to take a look at it here. Nope, that's something else. Shoot. Did I Gmail it to myself? I thought I did. Hi-ho, why is nothing ever simple? At any rate, so do I have messages in here? I might. That would be helpful if I did. No, I don't. Well, I might not be able to do what I had intended to do with you. Let me see whether we can go at this another way. Since Mercury is very much in retrograde, I will see if I can find the name of the poet. The name of the poet is Paul Mariani. I'm trying to get rid of this tab. Looks like get rid of it, done. Paul, Paul, honestly, what I really need is my Katie with me at all times. Paul Mariani. And Paul Mariani is going to be doing a poetry reading of his own work in a couple of weeks that I am going to attend. And I'm going to see whether I am able to read the poem that I had chosen. For you. Find poems. Yes. No. Well, there's always another way to go around it. Paul Mariani, read poems by this poet. I think it was 1996. Well, we'll do a... There it is. All right. It was very interesting, and it seemed to me to be an autumnal type of poem, which is appropriate as we go into fall. And in order to support myself, tomorrow I'm going to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and I am going to see an exhibit on the Medici, who of course were very powerful in the Renaissance in Florence, in Italy. I've never had the privilege of going to Italy myself. I've gone places where I've actually had to work as an actress. So I haven't been there, but of course I hope someday to go there. And it's a wonderful place to be fed, I'm sure, and to become more noble and be able to see more clearly that which is beautiful and judge our current circumstances by what has gone before. Because I can go to Africa, to the masks and the sculptures of Benin, of that great culture, and to Florence and that great culture, and to China, Japan, etc. You get the idea. So I think taking a multicultural approach is what an educated person absolutely needs to do. Looking for poetry, looking for music. Think to yourself, how do you utilize music? Most of the people I see are utilizing music to escape. They are trying to shut out the noises of the world. They're trying to shut out their own feelings, or they're trying to augment the feelings that they want to have and push down the other feelings that they don't want. So in order to work with your feelings, I'm really suggesting that you take Goethe's little quote seriously, repeating it again. One ought at least to hear a little melody every day, read a fine poem, see a good picture, and if possible, make a few sensible remarks. So what I would think is that we can't really make sensible remarks unless we're doing the poetry occasionally, the looking at a fine piece of art, sculpture, as Katie Matucci says, the Medici's tomb in Florence, so she's clearly been there. And so I think that I want to encourage all of you, in support of your feelings, there's got to be an art museum within reach of you. Don't just look stuff up on the internet. It's not the same as being in the presence of the work of art. And I'm sure Ms. Matucci would agree with me that being in the presence of that tomb is going to affect you emotionally and give you support for all your feelings and all your intellectual pursuits a heck of a lot better than if I would just look at it on Google and go, oh yeah, right. Yeah, she recommended that the Medici tomb is really great in Florence, and yeah, I see that, one-dimensionally on Google. Better than nothing, but not the full schmagiggy. Okay, you are now going to hear a fine poem for today by Paul Mariani, still living, born 1940, entitled "The Gods Who Come Among Us in the Guise of Strangers." For Charlie Miller. Late nights, with summer moths clinging to the screens and the shadows of the old grate flickering across the TV screen, suddenly there would be Charlie's inquisitorial head peering in the window, the shock of white hair, followed by the heart-stopping shock of greeting. "Just passing through," he'd say, and, seeing as the light was on, thought we might have ourselves a talk. Did I ever have enough time for Charlie? Usually not. The story of my life, of the one, as Chaucer says of someone, who seems busy, always busier than he is. Then, abruptly and discourteously, death put a stop to Charlie's visits. Summer moths collect still at the windows, then leaves and winter ice, then summer months again. Each year, old ghost, I seem to miss you more and more. Your youth spent with Auden and the big one's words, theirs, yours, helping you survive a brutal youth. Too late I see now how you honored me like those hidden gods of old who walk among us like the dispossessed, and who, if you are among the lucky ones, tap at your window when you least expect to ask you for a cup of water and a little of your time. Wow. That is your fine poem for today by Paul Mariani, The Gods Who Come Among Us in the Guise of Strangers. For all the feels, I'm Patricia Angelin, here in New York at Alba Technique, and I thank you so much for joining.